My name is Robert Górek, and I'd like to tell you a short story about agroforestry uh, for circular economy objective, especially. Could you, Magda, please change to the next slide? Thank you. So, the beginning is a quite provocative question. Is agriculture good or bad? Who can say? For whom? And certainly farmers are always the core of supply chain, so they are subject to many restrictions. And next, please. Uh, and one of the obligations of the European Union of agriculture is greenhouse gas emission reduction to meet reduction target, including lower demand for production of greenhouse gas intensive food and biofuels, also lower intensity of production, but also carbon mitigation, which we already talked about. And it's a huge task. Please, the next slide. And now, what we can observe, why EU farmers struggle with restrictions, politicians and experts are looking for culprits, blaming globalization, food industry, ruling parties, and European Commission is concerned and backing away from previous commitments, mostly environmental. Next slide, please. But will this really save farmers' resources? Just to mention nitrogen policy, strongly criticized by opponents, even farm to fork scenario reduces the dependence on Europe on imports of synthetic fertilizers and feed resources just by 40%, as well as the environmental nitrogen losses by 30%, much worse than planned. And only in the agroecological scenario, it seems, involving the relocation of feed production, organic crop rotations with legume crops, and shift toward less animal-based products, would Europe be able to export food to the rest of the world while halving today's reactive nitrogen emissions to the environment? The question is it really feasible? The next slide, please. Moving forward, agriculture is also the most frequently reported pressure for habitats and species, especially when it comes to intensification, land use change, and habitat fragmentation. And can we combine biodiversity conservation with circular economy? I'm pretty sure we can. The next slide, please. Yes. And yes, and I would say we have no other choice. We need to transform economy not only into bioeconomy, circular economy, but to green economy, which is founded on nature-based solution and ecosystem services, if you prefer, unless we do not want to stay within the planetary limits. The next slide, please. According to researchers, combining agroecology and bioeconomy is possible. However, more investment is needed into nature-based products and processes. And here, crop diversification is a key for this resource-efficient transformation. And crop diversification includes many different aspects like cover crops, rotational diversity, but also includes agroforestry. Next slide, please. Agroforestry is an excellent tool for this transformation as it allows us to protect crops, soil, water, and biodiversity in the same time. In EU, agroforestry is understood to be land use system in which trees are grown in combination with agriculture on the same land, but in fact include trees and shrubs within the parcel as on its edges. The next slide, please. And we need to focus on the planting on the tree deserts, and we can observe huge potential of EU agricultural land in order to improve protection against environmental risks. The next slide, please. The EU's most degraded agricultural lands, both arable and pastures, alone could host more than 3 billion trees as part of restoration. Is actually matches the EU objective, one EU objective. Next slide, please. Transforming million hectares from 2025 until 2050 can give us 192 million tons of CO2 accumulated in the soil to help meet EU sequestration target. And next slide. Arable agroforestry is a non-competitive land use system as combines biomass production and agriculture crops on the same land. The next slide, please. Maybe the next slide, because I would omit this part. Trees and shrubs cultivated in agroforestry systems have significant potential for revitalizing rural areas, providing numerous bio-based products. Just only hazel may deliver dozens of multi-purpose byproducts of different sectors for bioeconomy purpose. Next slide, please. Agroforestry systems can perform many different functions in the landscape, mostly environmental, which are an important one, although they better work if trees are planted in a context-specific way. The next slide, please. And examples from Belgium proves agroforestry systems can be multifunctional and more resilient if multi-species or multi-varieties trees combinations are planted within the farm, both in one row or as one single row combination or as a hedgerows. The next slide, please. In the perspective of modern sustainable farm model, trees provide a number of benefits, effectively protect water courses, water intakes, catch pollutions, mostly nitrate, and mitigate floods. The next slide, please. And the special role of trees is in the context of nitrogen circulation, depending on the tree species. The most significant effect is seen in the capturing nitrogen compounds, including also ammonia from the air, particularly beneficial around livestock farms. The other benefit is in improving soil fertility, mostly by tree roots turnover. The next slide, please. Additionally, trees appropriately located in the landscape, including root structure, improve microclimate and water availability, and for crops during dry periods. And we have good evidences of that from Poland, Czech, and Ukraine, for example. The next slide, please. Another good practice is from Greece, where it's possible intercrop oaks and barley as an animal feed, and trees conserve the soil from erosion on terraces. The next slide, please. And finally, trees in silvopastoral systems improve animal health, protect them against adverse conditions, improve quality of animal products. And what is unique, which can be visible in the table, tree leaves can be a source of nutritional supplements, often more qualitative than typically used grasses, here in comparison to lodium trees. And the next slide, please. The last one, I guess. Yes. So if you have more questions, please visit European Agroforestry Federation website or contact me by email rborek@ung.pulavik.pl. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Robert, for excellent presentation. This is a new subject for many of us. We will come back to you for sure with some questions later on.